Welcome back to the Marketing Madmen. We're continuing our conversation with Julie Stewart, the owner of Utopia Foot and Shoulder Massage, and pretty much we just hit that oh shit moment. So you are looking, before the cops got there, just knowing that this is on fire. Then you hear that it's spontaneously combusted. Meanwhile, the whole family has COVID and you are on chemo for breast cancer. So I think that word for what that is what that is. That's that moment. Okay, so what was going through your head at that moment? And tell us about the next couple of days, because that's a lot of times when people give up in that moment, where it just becomes too well and becomes overwhelming and you give up. Talk about what that moment was like for you and what the next couple of days were like for you.
Okay, so that moment was definitely, it's very surreal. It's hard to, it's a hit in the face. It knocks you down and you're like, well, what do I do next? Believe it or not, one of the first things was I needed to take care of the employees, because I've invested in the employees, and that's how I keep my business running, is by having employees that will work for you and do well for you. So I had to, take care of the employees. And I immediately started a GoFundMe for them, just a quick one, just to give them an extra, paycheck until I could get things sorted with insurance. So then that's the next kicker, is insurance. I had used a local agent who did not understand commercial business. And this is my first time opening a business, so this is something to learn, to definitely do your due diligence, take everything next level, run everything by an attorney, because this agent didn't have my coverage set up correctly. So although my contents were covered, the build out was not covered.
Oh my goodness.
In the insurance. So I had to go through fighting with insurance. I had all kinds of documentation and I was able to prove it, and they ended up having to pay. But that took about 3 or 4 months to go through that. So my employees, some of my employees were able to get paid throughout the process. The ones that are on payroll, the contractors were not, which are the therapists.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now you have insurance on top of this. You had, I have to imagine that space is ripe with bad actors who, whether it be ignorance or naivety or they're just horrible people, are under insuring or not insuring the right way. So you had all that. So you said that was a 3 or 4 month process just for insurance.
It was.
Okay. So again, what is going through your head now? How are you getting up and continuing to do this? You're, again, fighting chemo. How are you getting up to fight through this? Is it just, I got to win? Is it, what is wrong with these people? This is something I have to fix. Is it my employees? Is I put so much time in it? What is keeping you moving at this point?
Well, I had to make sure that my employees were taken care of. That was definitely very important. But I just knew I had to get the mindset of, we'll just get through it. It's another bump in the road. We've had many of them, and we're going to push through, and it will be fine. And just make the decision to fight through and get the place open as fast as I could. However, the city of Atlanta, of course, with permitting, that was not the case again. And it took a year to reopen the business. Okay.
So now we're fast forward. We are relatively recent, end of 22, early 23, somewhere in
August of 2023.
August of 23. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that is very recent. Okay. We're very in March recent. Of 24 right now. So you're within 6 months, 7 months of that window. Okay. So you have overcome all of that. August 23 opens. Do you breathe a sigh of relief, or are you like, oh my God, this is too good to be true? A unicorn is going to come down and drop a bomb on my building somehow. What's going through your head now?
It was a sigh of relief, okay. Definitely, to get the spa back open and get it running. What I found is throughout the year, I had more loyal customers than I even realized I had. Okay. What I did was, throughout the whole year, I was communicating to all the clients through email, and I was very candid. I feel like people like to relate to someone, and they like to understand your story, and they buy into a story. So I was very clear, communicating, this is where I am in the process, this is where I am with health, and you know what, we're going to be back, and we're going to be bigger and better than we were before. I saw it as an opportunity. When you do, it's like, when you build a house one time, and then the second time you build a house, you realize all the things that you wanted in the house that you didn't have before. So I was able to make a lot of changes in the build out and the process to make it a better place to visit, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and that was you telling yourself, like, there's some good that comes out of this, because there's not much good that comes out of it. Having to do a soft reset and rebuild the parameters based on what you didn't know you wanted is some, I guess, silver lining if you want. All right. So now that we have the story laid out, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions because I'm curious. And I think this pertains to a lot of businesses. But first and foremost, so what do you think you did to create such a loyal base of followers? Because I think when businesses open, unfortunately nowadays, we're so overrun by private equity and corporations that couldn't care less about the story or the community. They say they do. They have big letters that say they care, but they do nothing to care. So what do you believe your strengths were that allowed you to connect? Because this is a long process from 20 to now to August of 23. For people to roll with you through all of this, that's patience, that's trust. Talk about what you did and what advice you have to people to build that kind of connection with their customers.
I believe there's several things. One of the first things is customer service. And the one thing that I tell the people who work at the front desk is when someone walks in the door, treat them like they're walking in your house. Talk to them like you've known them forever. Recognize them if they're regular clients of ours. Be able to talk through if there's an issue. Remember, they're coming in here because they're stressed out. They're coming to get a massage. Be able to find a solution, never fight back. And I also believe I had to make sure I was providing a good service for everyone. So I'm pretty picky about the therapists that we have. I make sure everything's consistent. And I also make sure I have a clean spot, because I do believe that people are attracted to a place that looks clean. There's so many places similar to mine, and you walk in and they're nasty. So those are kind of the fundamentals. I also believe that, remind me the question.
That's quite all right. So we'll pull this part out of here.
I lost my train of, that's the chemo brain.
It's okay. So the question is that how do you connect with your customers?
How do I connect with them?
And why were they so loyal to you, and why were they so?
Okay. So I've positioned myself in the community as that I'm here to support the community. So I also am involved in different sponsorships for the schools, different organizations within Grant Park and the surrounding areas. And I really just put myself out there and connect. I am definitely a networker. So I'm not afraid to wear my business on my sleeve. And you know that this is what I do and this is where you need to go. And I'm always promoting the business. And I just think the style of communication that I took with being upfront and honest is what people liked.
Yeah.
And they tell me now, I appreciate that you did that.
Yeah. And I think that again, that authenticity is what's missing in a lot of places. And I think one of the big problems you have is everyone tries to fake it. And I think that consumers, some things they've gotten dumber at, unfortunately, but they've gotten smarter and they're able to spot when people are faking it. And I don't think the shtick is going to wear as long as people think it is. And I think once you package that with super high prices, decreased customer service, there is going to be revolt by the consumers who should be shopping. So anyway, let's put that aside. So, now, two-part question. Number one, you said what was really important there was the employees. So how do you motivate your employees to see your vision? Because they are the conduit to the consumer. So what did you do to get lucky to get such great employees? How did you find them? Talk about your employees and why they're so important.
So an interesting fact is all of my employees came back to me after the fire, except a couple who had moved away, and that's about 15 employees. I think that they follow me because I'm one of these, I'm always reading the books, Leaders Eat Last. I'm always trying to figure out. So my approach with the employees is I'm on your side. I'm here to help you grow. I'm here to help you make money. I am here to listen to your problems, and I promote a very healthy work environment.
Yeah, that's exhausting. And I have a team of 12 people, and when it comes to their problems, and one, understanding how different people are is really, really hard. And two, just because you are shown all these characteristics and qualities doesn't mean they do. So it is really hard to lead and to motivate the bigger the staff is and how different people are and socioeconomic and different things. So that in itself is exhausting. So talk about how gratifying it was to see that you put all that work in and all those employees returned that favor and followed you through all this.
It was amazing. I'm still, to this day, I can't believe it. And give me a second on that. Let me think.
Okay.
I mean, because I really can't put words into place how grateful I am that they came back to me, to be honest.
Yeah. Did you realize it, like when they were back here, where you were like, oh my goodness, like this has paid off, even though I've been overcome all this, that in itself, because if those people come back, those are the conduit to the customers. So the customers are likely to come back. And it's like, we came back stronger, and everyone says that, but you're coming back stronger with the same group of people, which is very rarely happens.
Right. So when they came back, I also offered them an incentive to come back as that I was thankful that they were there. So they all got a nice bonus from me.
Good.
And also that promotes the happiness of the employee. And I am always looking for an incentive for them while they're there. If they get a good review, I incent them. If they, help me do something to go above and beyond. So I'm always taking care of them. I believe in that.
Yeah, and I think those are two things have to go hand in hand, right? You can't just motivate somebody with money, and you can't just motivate someone with positivity and being on their side. Yep. It's the combination of the two. Let's be honest, right? Like, I think most people, they get to a point in their business career where they could just have that honest conversation, like, hey, pay me. That's what's going to help. Like, let's make this easy. Update on chemo and cancer. Where are you? Are we out of that dark time? Or what's going on?
We are pretty much out of that dark time. That was an interesting year. I did have a double mastectomy. I went through 3 months of chemo and additional 9 months of other infusions. That all ended in the summer of 2023. And my health is good now. Of course, I still have to have checkups, but I've worked hard to get myself back mentally and physically. And I feel great, other than I do have some side effects from the chemo. You all hear about them, and they're not great, but that's just what comes along with, helping you get rid of the C, as I call it.
Yeah, well, look, I think cancer is one of those things that touches almost everybody. I would say everybody all the time. And I think until you go through it with someone very close to you, that's when it becomes real. And I think that, my opinions on society and what we are doing to ourselves and what society is doing us to cause these things aside, you overcame it. So I'm going to ask you a odd question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Okay.
Are you a religious person?
I am a religious person.
Did you end this all and be like, I was tested and I've made it out and now I'm going to be rewarded? Did you make it out? Did you feel that going through your head? Because you ended chemo right about when the spa reopened. So it was almost that, oh my goodness point, and you got to that point. It's not necessarily which God, but you were like, oh my God, I made it through this all. I was tested and I made it through. Did that go through your head at all?
Most definitely. I feel like hard work pays off. I feel like going through adversity pays off. I feel like it's all about how you present yourself. You can turn it into a story of woe is me and feel sorry for you. I never asked for that or wanted that. I had a tremendous amount of people who stepped up to the plate to help me out during the time, and I couldn't even believe how many people did. But I go with the same theme. You have to just keep standing. During the cancer time, I had a blog that I was writing, and it was called Fuck Off.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt at the time. I'm like, I don't have time for this. And I think the subtitle of it was, get out of my way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here I am.
That's amazing. And look, so you've overcome so much, and just in this story, I mean, congratulations for where you've gotten and what you've overcome. Let's use this as a way to talk to business owners. So let's start back in the beginning, and let's start with, okay, I see the opportunity. I've been waiting 5 years of all these ideas to open. This is what I'm going to open. So what advice do you give to people who are thinking about doing what you did, and what did you have to tell yourself to finally make that leap of faith?
I would say running a business is not easy. There's a lot of moving parts, and you have to know that it's not always going to go smoothly. I mean, my example of the insurance, I thought I was doing my due diligence, but I didn't. I thought I understood. I expected the experts. I'm hiring you, so you are telling me what I need to have, and I didn't. I would say you always have to double check every single thing that you are doing. You also have to have budget available in the event.
And then some. And 10% on whatever you have.
It's like 30%.
Throw 30% on top of it, and just assume that with the very least, you spend 15 of it and you get 15% of profit for the first time in your life.
Exactly. You always have to plan ahead in case there's something that pops up, the unexpected, because the unexpected is definitely going to pop up. You don't know how it will show its face, but it will pop up. However, on the other side of that, there's joy in all of it. I never knew that I would open this business and how happy it would make me to see that I'm making other people happy and I'm providing actually a good service of self-care for people. But you just have to keep pushing through. Don't let it get you down. Keep standing and just realize that anytime something happens, it is not the end of the world. It's just a little season. You push through and you probably will come out on the other side. But don't ever go into the woe is me and feeling sorry for yourself and being in the dumps. I always tell myself when something bad happens, I will allow myself to crawl in a hole for a couple of days, get it all out, and then I come back fighting.
Yeah, everybody grieves and everyone goes through these things differently and everyone has different escapes. And I think, it's good advice to have that escape. But, when that escape turns to excuses and turns to future problems, you have to be clear on that because you're right. Like you said, I'd complain, but nobody's going to listen anyway.
Right.
Right. And even if they are going to listen, they got their own problems. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about marketing now. So you had a marketing background. How did marketing help you through this? And it sounds like that clear communication, which is the core of all marketing and what so many people get wrong. But that clear communication was definitely one. What else kind of helped you from your marketing background as you were going through this?
There's so much. I actually listened to your podcast, The Myths of Digital Media.
Yep.
Being
debunked. Yep.
And I have to tell you, I've sent that to so many clients that I'm talking to.
I paid her to say that, by the way. There's no way she's really saying that.
No,
so good.
I'm really
that's
saying
happy to hear.
Because everything that was said is exactly what I preach to clients. So I do believe marketing is something a lot of small businesses, because I have a lot of experience on the local side, and I believe that a lot of small businesses don't take it seriously and realize it is an investment and it is something that takes time, and you don't just spend $2,000 in a month and your business is flooded. I believe, though, with the marketing, as far as how you position yourself. So the way I'm positioning myself is I am affordable self-care. That is something everyone needs right now. We live in a world where we're all tired, we're all stressed, we are, burning the candle at both ends, not getting enough sleep. And I'm a firm believer that you've got to find those outlets to relieve stress, whether that for me is spending time with friends or in my family, or finding something that is exercise or taking a minute for a massage. Because if you don't recharge and reboot yourself, then you're in trouble. So I take that angle with my marketing, and that's the message I tell, that I have the affordable self-care. You don't have to call somewhere and wait 3 weeks to get a massage, spend $150. You can get an appointment typically the same day, and you didn't spend a lot of money on it. So it's very important to me to position myself with exactly what I'm offering, and I make it easy for people. Yeah, and I think that's another great part of marketing, if you're good at it, is value versus cost. Mm-hmm. Once you start going on price alone, you are a commodity and you are just competing to race to the bottom of price. Mm-hmm. When you talk about value, and the value is, like you said, you're investing in yourself. And one of the things I think people have to understand, I'm not saying that when you're 22 years old, you need to invest in yourself, right? Personally, I had till about I was 30 till I had to figure so much stuff out that it was time to start investing in myself. But investing in myself was teaching myself how to market advertising for this show, go and get stretches and massages. You're doing those things because of those things should be making you better. They see clearer. You get to a point where you realize that there's a fog, giving up drinking for a month or two. It's amazing how quickly the fog lifts and you can think clearly. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just like marketing, where it has to be treated as an investment. This is part of that invest in yourself. If you can invest in yourself and put time and effort and money into yourself with a clear vision, it will always be beneficial, which again, that's a value proposition. You're not offering a service that there's a price on, you're offering a service that there is value on. And I think that that's a really important thing to distinguish. So that's great. So talk about the business now. So hopefully the marketing's working, customers are coming, you're getting reviews. Talk about the business right now as we stand. So one other thing I wanted to add, though,
Please.
I am definitely about trying to get into the customer's mind to help them understand what the experience is. So I definitely recommend to everyone to really evaluate everything you have within your business. For me, it's gift cards, it's spa products, it's the experience. My experience, we play on 4 out of your 5 senses with the sounds, the sights, and the touch and everything. And it's making sure that you properly communicate exactly what your business does that is going to fill a gap that client needs. If you do that, you can draw them in. And once they come in, building on the customer service, I can keep a client when they come in.
Yep. And look, people don't always, they know what they think they want, but they don't always know what they want.
Exactly.
So if you can get in a customer's mind and get rid of those objections and those things, because again, we say it all the time. If I ask a business, hey, who is your ideal customer? Okay, that isn't necessarily the customer that's coming in or the best customer for them. That's just in their head what they think it is. And one of the things as a business owner, it's really hard to do is separate yourself from the entity. And it sounds like what you're trying to do is not worry about what's in it for you, but hey, what is the customer thinking? And that helps. And I have to imagine one of the good things, because you're dealing with a community of people. Like, look, it's hard. I live by North Lake. I'm not driving down to Grand Park for a massage. It's not happening. But you're in an area where most people are probably relatively similar minded. They have things in mind. They're in a community of each other. So if you know on average what 10 out of 15 people think like, you could probably apply that to most people and get a good idea of what you're trying to do with the business. And I think that's another important thing, is just understanding. And you probably have so much more human contact with an audience. It's not e-commerce. You're not hiding behind a wall. You have direct contact. You see the smile on their faces where they walk out, what the pain points are. So I think that's another thing. How do you use social media?
So I have paid campaigns, and I'm very strategic on how I do those. So I have one campaign that's all just the general services. I have a second campaign that is all about the specials. We have specials on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then I have a third campaign that's questionable. It could be anything depending on the month. And I may pick something, whether it's this is our most popular service, and taking that angle, or it's Valentine's Day. So depending on what's happening at the time. As far as organic social, I create a calendar every month, and I also have a list, and it plays on everything that I could potentially talk about for my business, whether it's the services, whether it's just self-care in general, the products, gift cards, memberships, packages, the whole thing. And I pull from that. But I also will adapt. So a couple weekends ago, the weather dropped. It was 30 degrees. And I have a photo of one of our warm, cozy blankets, and I put the spin on that. It's cold this weekend. It's warm in Utopia. Come on in.
Yep.
So you have to adapt with what's happening at the specific time that you can't project when you're making your monthly calendar.
Yeah, and that's so important if you have the ability to do it yourself, because by the time you get a third-party agency, they're not going to have the idea to do a heated blanket when it's 30 degrees outside. Exactly. And I'm not saying that's wrong with having a professional, because a lot of times it's not the time, or your business isn't scaling, you need to scale. But in those instances, I always say know enough to be dangerous, right? You have to understand the fundamentals of your business. It sounds like you have multiple revenue lines from products and services. They're different streams, which is important, and treat them differently. So for example, your main campaign is different than your specials campaign, because your specials campaign is most likely to attract new customers. So it's to create the demand, as opposed to the other ones are to capitalize on the demand that's already out there, and people are looking for these things. So again, technical terms, complicated terms, but all part of that marketing thing. So we've sped through the second segment. When we come back, I want to hear what your plans are from the future, how marketing fits into all that. We'll recap this all, and we will be on our way. But we are having a great conversation with Julie Stewart about lots of things, mostly overcoming adversity. And you've been listening to the Marketing Madmen, and we'll be right back.